It's 2 weeks before fall, and it's time to aerate. Well, it's the end of the summer, and I'm starting to really see that having irrigation and water drop on the grass, if that's what I'm going to call this, is just not enough. When you look at that kind of compaction there, if I was to take a screwdriver and try to run it into this ground, it simply would not go in. It's funny, this is actually the location of one of my irrigation heads, and it couldn't be more perfect looking. And it makes complete sense what's going on. I had actually not mowed the lawn out here this entire, I would say the last 6 weeks I have not mowed. And that tells me that the water is being stopped around that head. And you can actually identify every single head on the property right now because it looks like that. And the reason for that is because the irrigation's hitting that spot, dripping enough to get it wet and get the ground to be penetrated enough so that it could grow grass. So let's go and build the billy goat. Well, it's 2 weeks before fall, and it's really not time to aerate per se for us because the ground is hard as a rock, and there's probably nothing going to change that in the next 4 weeks. So I want to be prepared for that, and I've got my billy goat here below me, 48-inch billy goat, that after a significant amount of research I landed on. I can't say that it's better than any other product. I have not tried it, and I'm not an expert in aeration. In fact, the next time that I do aeration will be the first time I've ever done aeration. But I thought I would go ahead and do an unpack on this video, and then go ahead and follow up after this video with my experience with the billy goat. I chose it for several reasons, not the least of which was a cost factor, but I also wanted to have a product that I could be proud of and think that it was working. Also, too, I know that in the fall, the ground is hard as can be, but in the spring when I'm going to aerate again, the ground is often quite soft, and I can't have the tractor pull it along those areas that I'm trying to keep relatively level. The tractor just sinks in, terrible marks in the grass, and you'd just be defeating your purpose. So we will be pulling this along with our zero turn in theory. It is quite heavy, so I might end up having to pull it with our UTV. I don't like to use the ATV on the grass either because the ATV's tires are pretty treaded, and as a result would tear up the lawn the same. So I'm going to go ahead and unpack this, kind of show you what's inside here, what it takes to build one of these billy goats, and I'll give you the part number and all that so that you can follow along with it. It is something that I've looked forward to doing for a while. Our ground has been, as I just showed you in the video right now, that it's hard. It's hard as a brick. So we have solid clay. Where we don't have clay, we have put in some topsoil, heavily mixed in with some small rock, about call it penny size and less. And that has created an environment that's very difficult for grass to grow. So this season we poured a ton of water on it, just couldn't keep up with the heat. We had a couple weeks that bounced off 100, and we just weren't able to get there. So if you followed the channel, know that I had hydro seeded, and it really, for right now, I would say it didn't take. I've battled weeds this entire summer, and the irrigation just was not enough to get the ground to be from compaction. In fact, the weeds that I have, most of which I was able to control with some tenacity and 2,4-D, and some of the products I've actually discussed on this channel as well. and I was able to be very successful. But there's one weed that I was not successful with, and it's a crawler. And to say that I know it's not splurge, I know that because it doesn't break open and milky, but it's quite similar looking in it. And I think I've got Speed Zone now after some coaching from YouTube community. I think that'll eradicate it, but it is a weed that loves compaction, and guess what I have? I have that weed everywhere. So that tells me I have a very compacted soil. If it wasn't visually, it was identified. It was already identified by the what is actually growing on the ground. So I'm hopeful that the seed from the lawn that I put down, the hydro seed, has found its way into the turf. It's sitting down there. It's just waiting for irrigation. And as I showed in the video just now, where the sprinkler heads are, it's nice and plush green. It's the grass that I planted, the Black Beauty. So it's there. It's just that it needs to soften up the turf. So after much research, I'm going to do a combination of about 3 things, and I think I'm going to have to do it for multiple years, and then some sort of cadence of maintenance year after year, where I aerate. I use some liquid aeration around the tree areas, and then I also come in and fix the pH factor. We have high alkaline ground, and a combination of all that with some proper weed control should lead to some good results. And of course, we're going to have to do some overseeding. So you're going to come with us on that journey, and it starts now with this here, the Billy Goat 48-inch. Let me go ahead and open it up. And as we work through it, I'll talk a little bit of why I selected it, and hopefully it comes to prove out that it was a good choice. Okay, just getting into the box here. Let's open it up, see what we got. This stuff is going to be pretty heavy, so it will be very interesting in how I'm going to get it out of this box. I probably am going to end up having to lift it, cut off the front panel of the cardboard here and do a nice little kind of drag it out moment. So it looks like here we've got, let's pop this guy open. Pick this up. Nothing's going to be light because obviously some of what the aerator needs is to be kind of heavy. Obviously you're going to put some sort of weight on the back, whether it be water jugs or bricks, or I've seen somebody put some lead plates down on their aerator. Whatever it is, something to hold it down. But I think the net weight of this is already somewhere around 500 pounds. So it looks like this stuff is pretty well insulated and packed with nice little foam to keep it from clanging and beating itself up. I'll put that just off down to the side for a second here. Looks like a couple connection parts here, maybe even the lever to lower it down. One of the reasons why I picked this is it looked like I was able to lift it up and get it off the ground when I go between the several sections of our property. So I wanted to have that ability with relative ease, and it looks like the foot lever, in my opinion, was going to work out. Whereas if you would have had a drum filled with water, sand, or whatever, most of those models, although a little bit cheaper, did not have an ability to lift up, and thus I would have had to fight crossing the driveway and my nice pavers that you guys have seen me put in. So, okay, don't know what each one of these parts are, so I get the definition of these as I go along. Wow, everything's kind of hefty. Okay, comes in with a lot of this foam packing, very nice. Keeps everything from getting its rear end kicked along the way on the drive here. Like I said, I think I might have to cut this front panel off just to even the sides and fillet it out to make it easy on myself. So let's go do that. Wow, the spoons are already on there. That's nice. That's nice. So I had seen some models where you actually had to put the spoons on the wheels, or sorry, the the axle here, and the drums that turn, and I was like, ugh, okay, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. But these are actually on there, so that's nice. Okay, a little packing list and some instructions. Okay, why don't we get this guy opened up? It's going to be interesting in getting this off of this pallet. I do have a hoist and able to kind of hook it up, but it's currently not accessible because there's a lot of stuff in the way, and so I don't really want to do that. So we'll see what we got to do. Okay, let's find out our parts and what we got going on here. A little registration, a nice little Billy Goat sticker for something. We'll find a place to put it. A pack out of all kinds of bolts, a pin, and a couple of spacers. Certain that definition will come out somewhere. Okay, this is the Billy Goat AET 48 Owner's Manual. When looking at it, obviously the wider would have been nicer. But one of the things you want in this is when you go to make the turns, you want each one of these sections to be able to turn independently on the axis. And I believe I've got that built into. Now, the other part to this is expandable. So you can actually probably put another section on it. And unfortunately, I don't need to do that. That's just not something I need to do. Don't have the equipment to tow it unless I'm going to do it in the field. And if I'm going to do it in the field, I need to use the tractor because that's going to be the machine that is best for that. It's interesting, they have the machine or gas powered ones here, and that's actually what turned me on to the Billy Goat originally. I had one of the YouTubers out there did a review of the Billy Goat machine one and said it was just very helpful, and they love the machine and what have you. I can't use on the size of this property with any bit of reason a hand powered one. And in addition, the ground, not only being hard, has a lot of rock in it. So it would not be an enjoyable experience. I was going to rent an aerator and just kind of learn my way a little bit, get to understand a machine, and basically in so many words, after listening to others, it's quite the beating that you take. And I just decided to say, okay, let's do this do it the right way and get a machine that's towable and what have you. I will say at the moment I do not see, and I'm going to review it one more time, instructions on how to build this thing, which will be very interesting. So assembly and operation, page 5. Don't want to be too much of a man and not actually look at the instructions. So, okay. I have been turning past it several times, my bad. But here is the assembly instructions. All of 7 lines. So if it's 7 lines, hopefully it's 7 lines of ease. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Parts can be referenced on page 7. Assemble the machine. First attach the 2 frames together with the hardwares. Items 31, 32, and 35. I think you have to go to the assembly page, which again is a diagram of the actual box, of the actual aerator. So obviously this is the front where all the spoons are. It has 2 axle sets, so when you make the turn, The slower axle turns slower, then the outside one turns a little faster to make the turn, tearing up your grass a little bit less. There could have been a third one there. It might have been nicer to have another one in the middle, kind of the medium speed, if you will. Each one of the drums have 6 spoons on them. They're 4 inches long. So it should be, with enough weight, able to penetrate in the ground at least 2 to 3 inches and get what you're looking for. So on the back side here, the first part of the assembly is doing the connecting the 2 parts. So let me get the parts and get what it is that I need to put this all together. It looks like this has got the hole right here coming through here, then another one down here. We'll bolt them together with these guys. It looks like the hex top, 3/8 tops. So I'm gonna go get myself some tools and set myself up for success and start connecting these guys out. Okay, so what's going to be is there's going to be some here. It looks like these are the bolts. So then we're going to take this guy here, run it through like such. Get ourselves another washer, and this is our bolt, our nut. Okay, let's go do the other side. The instructions don't really tell you much. You're just going to look at a diagram. And yeah, I don't think that's pretty cool. I think you got to tell me exactly where I've got to go next. And maybe there's an instructional video somewhere that I haven't watched. But I'm kind of guessing what's the next step. And unfortunately, that usually leads to reworks. I am wondering if this thing should be lifted on top of itself. So the hole is right here, and it is just not wanting to line up. Okay, so one of the things you're going to have to do first, before anything else, by far, is to make sure that each one of these holes are drilled. This hole here is drilled out properly. It is not. You can see I've really been struggling to get it in there, and you can see that it's blocked. I didn't validate that before I started trying to put this thing together, and so I've been fighting with it. So it looks like this is upside down, but I've already looked at the holes down at the bottom, and they look to be all the way through. And that is really the challenge right now. I am fighting that metal is not lined up there. So what's happening is it's leading to me, obviously it's not going to go through. So I've got to bore that out with a metal drill. So here we go. Just enough to pass through. Okay, hopefully that was just a little diversion. There we go, that one in. And let's see if this one goes in. Ah, bingo bango. Okay, so the key here is that you're going to have to make sure your holes are fully bored out. And I do recommend stacking like this, but you got to be very careful. This is heavy, and one slight touch and this thing could collapse, bust off 2 spoons, hurt yourself. So I have now stuck the 5 bolts through that are available. I think that's all 5 for the connection of the 2 parts. And so I'm going to go ahead and put the nuts and washer on and finish this up. It took a little long. It is kind of ridiculous that there's no instructions on where the bolts have to go other than a diagram that has 1,000 lines and screws and bolts and pictures everywhere. You know the type. So here we go. The ones with the spoons are just a little bit more crafty to get to. Okay, it's time to put on the wheel assembly, and it looks like this is the left, or sorry, the right, and I got the left over here. So, a little bit of a grease on the pin here. Okay, and this is going to go up to here. Okay. And there it is. Come on. Alright. So you're going to need to have one of these snap ring, you know, what wrenches, tools, exact terminology of it is, so that you can go ahead and open up this guy here. So, yeah, just go like that and put it on. Oh, we'll see. Come on. think I'm going to have to come in from the bottom. I don't know if I'm in that groove. It looks like I am. There you go. That's better. Okay. There you go. Voila. Okay, with the wheel assembly on, pretty simple, right? You grease it up, you put the snap ring in, and it slides right into position. A lot easier than bolting the two together and having the complication that I had there. I'm still actually concerned that there might be some lineup issues, and I'm going to have to loosen it up to get that to work. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and put on the hitch assembly. There is 5 holes on this guy, and obviously you're going to want this hole to the top. So let's go ahead and put this on. Okay, I'm going to put it just a little bit loose for a second. I guess not. Okay, got the bracket over here that I'm going to put on. I'm having a little bit of a, I don't know exactly where the last bolt of this size is. I'm hoping it's not under the equipment here, but I am going to find it accordingly. Okay, so when you are putting the two pieces together, only 4 bolts, and there are only 4 lines in the diagram. I think I'm going to take a picture of that diagram and put it up in the corner here so you can see how many lines are going everywhere. So I put one too many in connecting the 2 pieces together, so it was 5 there. And so yeah, that was the missing bolt. So I'm going to go ahead now and just put the bolt where it was supposed to go. Okay, with them kind of loosely fitted in here, I'm going to go ahead and attach the trailer hitch. I honestly don't know if I like the tines here or the spoons here as much as I would, you know, don't want to put them all on. I'm telling you, they're in the way a lot. I probably would be better off having them on, but it is in the way. Okay, firm, firm, firm. Just got to do the top. All right. Feels like that long bolt is going through the back. And it is. Okay, yet another mistake. You got to get this bolt in before you can hook up this. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So you have to do a lot of investigation of where you're going with things. so that you don't have to do double work. I am sitting here fixing this now, which is not a huge deal. I mean, I'm going to get through it really quick here, but it's just an example. If they've had directions, what goes first, second, and third, you wouldn't have any of these kind of stop, starts, fixes things. You know, I mean, I may well be not the sharpest guy on all things, but you know, that's something there that you could have easily made it simpler for me to not make that mistake. Again, it doesn't take too long. I'll have a solve in 2 minutes time. All right. Okay, so simple deal here. You're gonna hook up the hitch attachment. If you had a different hitch situation, then you would probably not use these the same way, but I think that I have the standard question, so I'm gonna go with the standard setup. Okay, so what that is your lift bar right here. So you pull the pin and then you let the lift bar lift it down. So pretty, manual, but at least it gives you something to kind of give it some lift and pick it up. A pin and a couple of spacers. Certain that definition will come out somewhere. Okay, it's just when you thought you were done, and I actually had wrapped up on the video, I was left with these two guys. And as I just said on the video, those are the spacers. And I didn't have them on there. So I had to tear apart this whole assembly again to get the bolt out and put it back in. So that's mistake number 3. And yeah, so, and it makes sense. If you don't have those spacers, then the torque on the trailer bar is going to be such that it would start to, wear on all this. So that gives it that left-right control so that it doesn't move around. But yeah, I didn't catch it until I was left with the classic left with the set couple parts and they don't need to be put on. I did have to put them on, so I did have to tear that apart. I didn't film it. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close out this video and just talk a little bit about the process. A couple things that obviously challenged me along the way. One, I think the directions were very generic. You had 7 lines that just said, put part 1, 2, 3, 4 together. So you got to go hunt for what are those parts. Look at the diagram that I've had several times up in this video. To find, where it all goes and then follow the lines. The good news is there really isn't a lot of areas to connect, and you can just kind of visually step back and see it. I would even say the trailer bar hookup that I, did incorrectly twice, ultimately was somewhat of me not thinking through before I proceeded to the next part. And that was probably a derivative of me spending so much time on just connecting the body parts together. But hey, listen, I think the product looks wonderful. It's a great looking item. Obviously, it's going to play in the mud, so it'll get filthy as all can be, and it'll get its set of challenges as it bounces around in rocks and things of that nature. So I think it'll ultimately, obviously get its damage accordingly. A little bit about the tools I used. I had the 9/16 nut driver on the drill, and then of course the wrench accordingly that matched it, so that I could pull everything together. The vast majority of everything that you put together is with simply those two tools in your hand. The other tool that I used was the 3/4 for the the troublesome longer bolt there in the front of the trailer bar. And then, of course, unfortunately, because the one hole did not have it bored out correctly, I also used the drill bit to drill that through on the 3/8 and get that cut out so that the bolt would go all the way through. I also used the grease gun. You know, obviously you would use it whatever which way. And then the last tool I would say is that spring ring expander wrench, you know, that, you know, pulls it apart so that I could put on the wheel assembly. So with that, you know, the tools were, you know, very minimal. I hope to have the opportunity to use this fall. It really depends on how much we get rainfall before we get freeze. It is the case that in the fall, anything's, you know, the bets are off. Don't know what you're going to get. Frankly, in mountain weather, you don't know what you're going to get no matter what. And in times, it's just literally the day before you think you're going to get X and you get Y. So the truth be told, I don't know if I'm going to get the opportunity to use it, but I wanted to be prepared. And I will make a follow-up video of how I feel about the product once I use it. Again, when I go to aerate for the first time in my life, I don't know if I will be the expert of it, but you know, obviously it's not that difficult to see if there's good results at the end of it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for watching all the way through. I know it's going to be probably a lengthy video after editing it. And so when you watch all the way through, I really appreciate it. So until next time, catch ya.